All right, guys, so for some of you new joins, we've been talking about aiming and what that actually is supposed to look like. So I pulled up this animation here that I found on YouTube that I think is pretty good. And I'm also going to go over a couple of things in terms of principles with your stance, your grip, your trigger control, follow through, things like that, so you can get the best foundations for aiming possible. So when it comes to aiming, first and foremost, when you're using iron sights, yes, I have a red dot on this one, but I'll also be using these backup iron sights for this explanation. So you have your rear sights and your front sights. And if you look in this animation here, that is depicted by these white dots are the rear sight, and this green dot is the front sight. These are called iron sights. Now, first and foremost, you're standing upright. You bring that weapon up to your eyes. You don't ever bring your eyes down to the weapon. Always bring the weapon up to your eyes, and you're going to line up those rear and those front sights. Arms fully extended, elbows slightly flared outward, completely presented forward. Now, what this is going to look like is something like this. You're going to bring your sights up to your eyes, and you're going to basically, whatever you want to shoot, in this case the bullseye, you're going to cut that in half with the tip of that front sight. Now, even sights means that the front and the rear sights are all flush with each other, nice and even. I could draw a straight line across those. Even lights means that the amount of light distribution between the left and right side of the front sight tip are equal. Equal amount of light, equal amount of light. So this front sight tip is right in the middle of these rear sights. Now, as you begin to focus on that front sight tip, everything will go blurry except for this right here. You really want to be focusing on just the top curve, like this edge right here, the edge of the front sight tip, the very tip of that front sight tip. So this is the front sight, but that's the front sight tip. That's where you want the center of your converging focus to be. Notice how these have gone blurry. Notice how the target's blurry. This is what is crystal clear. However, you still have even sights, even lights. This is the basic way to shoot a handgun in terms of fundamentals of marksmanship. It's a great way to start, great place to start, because it will help you develop good, proper form, good muscle memory. Because if I work on 10,000 presentations where I'm lining up that front sight tip, even sights, even lights, focus on that front sight tip, then what's going to happen in a defensive situation is my body's already naturally going to push the gun out, bring it up to where? Good alignment in terms of sight alignment. This whole process, what we're talking about is sight alignment. Rear sights, front sights, sight alignment, okay? The process of converging your focus on the front sight tip is called sight picture. So splitting the target in half with the tip of that front sight, focusing on the front sight tip, that is called sight picture. So we have good sight alignment and we have good sight picture whenever we are properly aimed in using a handgun. So this is what I'm talking about when I say, hey, you're going to shoot the body target or those green targets or whatever target. The front sight tip should be resting right in the center mass, right in the sternum area, or if it's a circular target like this, right in the bullseye. That way, when you get ready to pull your trigger, now, another thing I want to talk to you about, notice this. This is trigger slack. Okay? Second weapon safety rule, finger straight up and off the trigger until when you are aimed and ready to fire. So as I'm aimed in, I remove the trigger slack and then I start to feel that wall of resistance, okay? The gun still hasn't fired yet. The gun doesn't fire until I do this. That's when the gun actually fires. So remove that trigger slack, aim in, remove that trigger slack, even sights, even lights. Focus on the front sight tip. Breathe. Slow, steady trigger squeeze. And as you're exhaling, you're slowly pulling back on that trigger. Boom. Keep holding that trigger to the rear. Stay aimed in, stay aimed in, stay aimed in. Keep that sight alignment and that sight picture while holding that trigger to the rear. Then, finger out, back to the ready position. Now you can observe where you impacted that target. You don't want to shoot and then look to see where your bullet went, because you're going to be dropping the gun low. You just want to do it exactly as I said. That way your impact, notice on the screen here, boom, that's how the impact rolls. Even sights, even lights. Focus on that front sight tip. Remove that trigger slack. Slow, steady trigger squeeze. And breathe. Boom. Keep holding the trigger back. Stay aimed in, stay aimed in, stay aimed in. Then once you're done, finger out, back to the ready. That is how you get proper sight alignment and proper sight picture when it comes to basic marksmanship fundamentals. Now, most of the time you got to close an eye in order to get that type of sight picture. What if you keep both eyes open? Well, if you keep both eyes open and you're right eye dominant and right-handed, you'll see these two blurry versions of the gun. You'll still be trying to focus both your sights, both your eyes down onto that front sight tip here, but you'll be seeing these blurry ones. If you're right eye dominant and right-handed, this is the one that we want to be paying the most attention to. This is the one we want to line up on the target. All right. How do you know if you're right eye dominant or not? Hold your finger out in front of you, focus on it, and then close your left eye, and then it should not move, and then close your right eye. And then if it jumps, you are right eye dominant. If it doesn't jump, you're left eye dominant. Just reach out, let me know. I could talk to you about that in another video. But basically, you're just going to reverse the order then of these blurries. So if you're left eye dominant but right-handed, you're going to line up this one, not this one. But for most of you, you're right-handed. You'll also be right eye dominant for the most part, but it does happen. And so this is how you are going to be viewing the gun and the target. You're still going to have even sights, even lights. You're going to focus on that front sight tip as much as possible. Hold the center mass of that target. Slow, steady trigger squeeze. Boom. And then you're going to stay aimed in, stay aimed in, stay aimed in. Finger out, back to the ready position, and then observe where your impact lies on the target. This is how we get good sight picture and sight alignment, guys. This is how we aim. Let me know if you have any questions. If you have a red dot, you're just going to basically look through that red dot, focus on the target, like in this image, and you're just going to hold that red dot on there. Don't get caught up, guys, especially for your newer shooters, when you have a gun like this where you're like, whoa, well, I'm lining up the dots. That's not what they're for. Those dots are there for low visibility conditions, or if you have really bad eyesight, then you could use that as a frame of reference, but it is not going to be anywhere near as accurate as even sights, even lights. So don't line those up. Don't worry about those. This is your main focus and priority as of this point. And again, if you guys have any questions, reach out and I will help you out best I can.